Hello, my name is Aaron Murphy, and welcome to the West Shore Archive. Today's guest will be Kirk Murphy. Mr. Murphy is one of the original teachers at West Shore, and he's well liked and respected for his great work as an AP history teacher. Please welcome Kirk Murphy. So, where did you grow up?
I am a native Brevardian.
Yeah?
Yep. So I'm from this area. More up north, Cocoa. Graduated Cocoa High School.
At Cocoa High School, what did you try to study the most?
As little as possible.
As a,
I was not the best student. I was never the best student. Till after I got my AA degree in college. Then I became a much better student.
so
I mean, I liked history. I guess that would be the class I liked the best, but I was a poor student.
did you know you wanted to be a teacher back then? Or?
Oh God, no.
No.
No. My 10-year reunion, when everybody found out I was a teacher, it was a shock. Nobody saw me as a teacher. I did not see myself as a teacher. It's almost something I fell into. So,
would you say you're like a troublemaker back in high school? What group would you say you were part of?
I was not a troublemaker. I mean, I was never suspended or anything like that. Which group? I mean, I was on yearbook for a little bit, so I did yearbook stuff. And I mean, you had a camera, everybody wanted you around because you take pictures and you get them in the yearbook. I guess junior and senior year, I was more with, I don't know, the popular kids. I wasn't a jock. I wasn't a redneck. I wasn't with the band kids, the chorus kids. So, yeah, but I did all of the activities that you do. I did Powder Puff both years, and I was in Key Club, and I did auto mechanics and stuff like that.
All right. Where did you go to college?
BCC to get my AA degree, which took forever because I screwed around because I wasn't a good student, and then UCF to get my BS degree.
When did you get your?
I literally have a Bachelor of Science in Social Science Education.
Right. After college, did you know you wanted to get into teaching? And then how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, that was what I went to. After I got my AA degree, I was in that education track. I spent a year substituting because I didn't actually get my degree until August, so it was hard to get a job. And I subbed in a number of places, as far north as Astronaut. Actually subbed at Southwest a couple of times and then told them I'd never sub there again because, I mean, the teachers didn't leave plans. The kids were horrific. Got a short-term contract at Cocoa High School teaching biology and AP biology of all things. And that's what helped me finally get my first, full-time position, is that I was able to use the experience from that. And then the fact that I did a good job, was able to get recommendations out of that.
So, working through your AA degree, did you have a job through then? Is that why it took so long? Or?
Yeah, I kept thinking I wanted to go out and get real jobs and work in the real world, and the real world sucks. I worked construction, and my job was to haul cinder blocks around, from the big pile of cinder blocks to where they needed them, which is good for your chest and arms, but destroys your back and is really a hard job. Real jobs suck. So the real world was not fun. So, but yeah, that's what I really decided to kick it into high gear.
When did you graduate? What year?
High school or college?
College.
88.
So, in 1988, would you say teaching was like a popular profession to go into, or?
More popular than it is now.
So, what school were you teaching full-time at first?
At Southwest. I was at Southwest for 9 years.
And did you like it there at all, or?
I met some good people there. I had some good experiences. I mean, that's where I met my wife. So, I mean, that's a good thing. Um, Overall, not really. I did a little bit of everything there. I taught eighth grade American history, ninth grade world history honors. I taught only for 1 year. I taught seventh grade geography, which was a good class. But then I did Saturday school suspension. I did in school suspension. They actually had me teach, oh God, this was so horrible, a seventh grade dropout prevention class, which is not a, I don't know how they keyed it. I don't know what it was. There was no format for it. They just basically said, these kids need some structure. And I mean, it's so long ago, I couldn't even tell you what I did with them. That was more survival.
Mm-hmm.
But seventh grade dropout prevention, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. Did you have any like behavioral issues in that class?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Nothing ever too horrific.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had to break up. I didn't have to break up. I've never had to break up a fight in class. Knock on wood as I say that. It shouldn't happen here. But I mean, out in the hallways, there's always fights you had to break up. And yeah, lots of problems with kids not doing work. Just, yeah. And you would call home there and not get any support, not like here, where the parents are active. And that's the key to this school is the active parents. Parent support is huge.
Speaking of West Shore, when did you finally get to West Shore?
I started the school. I was here day one.
Nice.
So
what was the classes you were teaching on day one?
I taught eighth grade American history that year, full time. That was all I taught. The next year I moved up to, and it was weird, I moved up to ninth grade the next year, then I moved up to 10th grade the year after that, 11th grade the year after that. So you had, and I don't think this is a good thing, you had unfortunate kids who had me for like 3 and 4 years in a row. And that's because the school was so small and growing. That's not an ideal situation for anybody.
How were those first West Shore students?
The original 7th grade class is kind of like Voldemort, they who shall not be named. A lot of those kids should not have been here. And really that first year, nobody knew what to expect. And we got a lot of kids who didn't make it past 1 year. So,
was it still a lottery-based system back then?
Yeah. I mean, actually not as much. And I don't really know how they picked the first people to come in. But there was spaces available. Because I know originally the plan was for my son not to go to school here. But things that happened at Southwest where he did have to come to school here. And there was no problem getting him in. And one of his friends was able to get in and things like that. So, yeah, that first year, I'm not sure how kids got in. But because nobody knew what was going to happen, I don't think there was as much of a rush to get in here.
What did you think of like the West Shore environment when you first got here? Was it different from other schools you had taught at, or?
That parent involvement, and you still needed that then, was a huge aspect, so that you saw the parents, you got to know the parents, you knew that if you called home, typically there were going to be things that were done. So, yeah, even starting out, the environment was different and better. That first couple of years was a little struggle, having to change the way that I taught based on expectations at Southwest to here. But no, I think it went well.
So I heard this thing somewhere on the internet, I forget where I heard it from, but it basically said teachers don't really have to grade a lot at some of the other schools in America because not every student does every assignment. But at West Shore, is grading more of a task than at other schools?
Yeah, I'm not going to miss grading. After that, I was telling somebody, if you look on this table right now, I've got papers all over the place. But, I mean, and I've been grading. It's not like I put off grading. It's constant here. And after COVID, when I changed some of the ways I did things because of COVID, that just gave me even more grading to do. So instead of just one set of terms and questions for a chapter, I break the chapter up into like 3 parts. So there's 3 sets of terms. I mean, it's not as much, but it's constant. Grading is definitely constant here. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fleming's leaving this year, and
Yep.
as I understand it, there's been 3 principals in West Shore's history.
Oh, yeah.
Could you run us through each of the principals and how long they were here, roughly?
Okay, so I've got to remember names now. So Dr. Galbraith, and that's who hired me, only made it, I think, like 4 or 5 years. So, and then there was Van Meter. Less spoken, the better. And she was only here for, I think, a couple of years, maybe a few. And then Rick came in, and he's been here for, my gosh, it's got to be close to 16 or 17 years. So, yeah, he's the one that I've known the most.
Who would you say you became friends with at West Shore right away, and are they still here, or how's your work relationships been at West Shore?
You know, I'm easygoing enough that I haven't had many problems. There were people I didn't like because of, well, okay, so the first year the school was open, there was a science teacher here who was so bad at teaching science that when it came time to teach the 8th graders health, they made me teach it. And it was like that health sex education class that we had to do back then. So I was the history teacher teaching that for a week. And when we went into sexual harassment and things like that, the girls came up to me afterwards and said this guy was like rating them. Like, that's a 5, that's a 6, and I'm thinking, I've never done that at all. I mean, not even in my mind.
Yeah.
Much less as an adult to children.
Yeah.
So that guy didn't make it past a year. He was gone. I mean, Coach Eller, because I know you remember him, I was fairly close with. Schley, I've been fairly close with. Miss Rim, I've been fairly close with. Yeah, people like that for the most part. So, from Southwest, I still have people that, I mean, one guy was basically my mentor, and I still see him quite often, but he's almost as old as like my father. So I still go and see him, and we'll watch football and stuff like that. So
West Shore has the family preference when it comes to admission policy. So you've had the honor of teaching a lot of my siblings. Are there a lot of
Murphys?
A lot of Murphys, but also, is there any other families of note that you can think of that you taught a lot of?
But the Salagis, of course. I mean, starting with Melinda and going through. I guess the last one of them is in 10th grade now. So, I mean, that's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you two stand out the most. I know there's been some others that have been here. I mean, like Massimo, but that wasn't really only him and his brother. So, yeah. But like I say, your family and the Salagis, it seems like about the time you get rid of one, somebody else would show up. So you guys were here for years and years. The Londons, a long time ago, had 3 or 4 kids that were here for a while. So,
how would you say teaching West Shore students has changed in the years you've been here?
You know, I didn't start AP for a while, but once I started AP in 2000, that was drastically different. The amount of work that you have to do for an AP class, particularly starting out, is, my wife said all she would ever see is the top of my head when I was at home, because I was always bent down grading papers or reading a book or doing something. So, yeah. Once we got past the first few years and things kind of fell into more of a routine, it I don't think it's changed as much overall. COVID changed everything as far as I'm concerned. And Schley and I were talking about that once. We both basically thought, we've been doing this forever. We're going to retire soon. There's nothing that you could throw at us that we wouldn't be ready for. There's nothing new that could ever happen. And, be careful what you wish for kind of thing. And then, of course, COVID hits and changes everything. And I've changed my teaching more because of COVID. It's shown me, importance may be the wrong word, but the fact that breaking things up makes things easier on the kids. I think they've learned a little bit better. My test scores have actually gotten a little bit better since then in some ways. So, but there's definitely been a change. I mean, you see a change throughout the years. And for the most part, I would say for the better. As we get a better reputation, the kids who are coming here know more what to expect. The siblings know more what to expect because of what, they've been told before. So I think things could have became a little more codified, a little more, not relaxed, but everybody knew what to expect. So for the most part, there wasn't a whole lot of new that was going on.
What is unique about West Shore teachers and also West Shore students?
A lot of you actually want to be here, and let's be honest, most kids don't want to be in school. I didn't want to be in school.
Right.
The parent involvement is so unique, and I would assume that Edgewood has basically the same thing. But if you had parents being involved in any school, like they're involved at this school, every school would be like West Shore. And that's what it should be like. Every parent should need to do 20 hours of volunteer work at the school, and it would make things so much better, I think. And I know a lot of times it's the parents who want the kids here more than the kids, but I think we typically lose those kids after a year or two.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And then teachers.
Teachers are really teachers. For the most part, teachers are really good. I've actually been surprised at. We had a math teacher here years ago, and this gentleman was very smart, young but knew math, but couldn't teach. I mean, he knew math well, but that doesn't mean you can teach math. I mean, when I started at Cocoa High School teaching biology, I didn't know biology. I had to read ahead. And overheard a conversation between students where they're like, wow, I've learned more from Mr. Murphy in 3 weeks than I've learned all year from the other guy. Which I think just boils down to teaching. I think our teachers have better relationships with the kids because of the homeroom, so that you get to know them for better or for worse. Sometimes being with the same teacher for 6 years and or the same student for 6 years, you butt heads. And I know that's happened, and there's definitely been kids in my homerooms that I was not amazingly fond of.
As Mr. Murphy told us, he is retiring this year after a long career of teaching. I wish him well in his life in retirement. I thank him so much for his great insights and perspective into the history of West Shore. Thank you, Mr. Murphy, for being a great teacher and for coming onto the show.